Hello and welcome to Everyday Tarot, your deep dive into the divine wisdom of the tarot. I'm your host, Camille A. Saunders, healer, intuitive tarot reader, and professional witch, and today I'm talking about tarot on a sick day. Whether you're a seasoned tarot reader or just starting to explore, this podcast offers insights, intuitive messages, and practical advice drawn from the cards. Each episode is designed to help you connect with your inner wisdom, find clarity in your decisions, and tap into the energy of the universe. Going forward, you can tune in every Monday morning to check out the latest episode. If you love the show, the best way to support it for free is by listening daily, leaving a review, and subscribing or following in your favorite podcast app. If you want to access the most up-to-date info on upcoming events, presentations, musings, and info and photos of my day-to-day life, you can check out my newsletter as your one-stop shop. The link to joining my newsletter is in the show notes. If you're interested or know someone that might be a good fit to be a guest on the podcast, please fill out my form linked in the show notes as well, or send it to a friend or colleague or anyone that you would love to see on the show. And you can find the links for any of these offers in the show notes or on my website, CamilleASaunders.com/everydaytarot, in addition to the images of the cards I pull for each episode. All right, well, today we're getting right into our main discussion about tarot on a sick day. So I'm going to talk about energy, accommodations, and then we'll get into like a little spread that I am, to be honest, I'm making up live because this is where I'm at. Energy levels. So, right, maybe you're home sick from work, maybe you have chronic illness or chronic pain, and you are maybe not necessarily not working, but you are having a down day or feeling low energy, right? For some of us in our maybe witchy practices or other things, we might tend to say, oh, okay, I'm going to only do the bare minimum today, which of course is certainly reasonable. And perhaps you, like me, or maybe you, unlike me, do not have a podcast that you had put on your schedule to record today. And so you will be showing up in whatever way you can, which is how I created this episode today. But yeah, I just thought it would be interesting. So in 2025, I sort of embodied the everyday tarot name by putting out episodes Monday through Friday for all of 2025, as I got very used to saying. And now we are in 2026, and I'm no longer going to be putting out episodes Monday through Friday. You're going to be getting episodes Monday mornings going forward, or at least that's the plan right now. And so I am also finding, my new rhythm of podcasting and themes and moving away from sort of really structured themed seasons and kind of seeing where things go every day. But I also really, what was important to me by calling this podcast Everyday Tarot was that it was the kind of tarot that you could do every day. That doesn't mean you need to do it every day, but that it wasn't a big ritual. It wasn't a 10-card spread. It wasn't something that you need research for, or that you need a bunch of tools, or you need to like look up a spread for, although all of those things can be fun, but that also like tarot can be something that you can utilize in your everyday life. And that is sort of where I'm coming from today with this episode. So my energy is lower today. I'm getting back into, for me, I'm recording on January 6th right now, getting back into my full-time workload. I have a client after this, and then I'll get to wrap up my day. Like I said, I'm a bit low energy. You can see this green glow if you're watching this on video. I have this green lamp. Let me see if I can like show it a bit more. It's this crazy green light. Okay, well, you can't even tell it's green necessarily on video, but you can see it in the reflection of my glasses here. It's called a Allay lamp, I think, Allay. So I get migraines. So I kind of have I feel like I'm in like the early stages of a migraine, which is called the prodrome stage. It's kind of like pre-migraine, where you just kind of feel low energy, you might feel kind of out of it, depends on what your symptoms are, but that's a little bit where I'm at today. I just kind of feel a little weird, a little brain foggy, a little like distanced from my body. And as someone that has chronic pain and has been dealing with migraines for over a decade, I kind of have my accommodations. So that was the next part we're going into. I'm wearing some migraine glasses. These are called Avalux glasses. It just helps me be able to look at a screen a bit easier. It actually does the same thing as this green light does, which is that it kind of filters out light that is not the green wavelength. And the green one, for whatever reason, is the one that's helpful for folks that have migraines. And a lot of other wavelengths, especially like blue light, fluorescent light, can feel very oppressive. If you have these sensory kind of issues that come along with migraine often, which are light sensitivity, sound sensitivity, even sometimes like taste or other senses get impacted. You might feel like you're more like hyper aware or yeah, just for me, it's like the putting the silverware away from the dishwasher is just like the worst sound I've ever heard when I have a migraine. And sometimes that's how I can tell that, oh, I have one coming on, because normally putting away silverware does not infuriate me, but right now I don't love it. So I have my computer screen on, I actually keep it on pretty much all the time, but on nightlight mode, which makes kind of, this is a thing my computer has, but you can usually look at it in your settings to change it to kind of like sunset light. I'm trying to think of how to explain it. I remember another computer I had explained it as like a sunset, but basically it just makes the light a little more like red than blue. And if I turn it off, I'm like, wow, I hate it. I don't ever want to look at that. So honestly, I keep that on all the time. It's on my computer. It's called Nightlight. You can go into your settings. But yeah, so the green light is actually supposed to be helpful preventatively for migraine, as well as when you're actively in one. I have some aromatherapy mist that my friend got me, calming. It has citrus, lavender, patchouli, and peppermint that I'm gonna spray. Lavender's good for calming at any time. Sometimes other scents might be triggering to you, so keep that in mind when if you go out to buy something like this. But peppermint is actually often one used for migraine, because often what comes along with especially early migraine is nausea. And if we've ever had peppermint candies or even like toothpaste, it can kind of be a anti-nausea um, thing. I don't know how else to explain it. You can tell I have a little brain fog right now. The other thing I did is I have some like lemon and ginger tea mix. Ginger is another thing that can be helpful. Again, kind of like if you're nauseous, right? Ginger ale or candied ginger or other types of ginger things are often recommended. So I do have some ginger tea here. I don't necessarily feel nauseous right now. I did a bit earlier and I got on some comfy clothes. I have some PJ pants on right now that are not like constricting my stomach, which might make me feel more nauseous. Another thing I do is have my window open because it's cold out. And for me, at least, when I am nauseous, being too warm makes it worse. So sometimes I will go sit outside if I have a migraine, like where I live, it's like 40 degrees Fahrenheit a lot of the time outside in the winter and raining. So I sit under cover. But that kind of helps like allow me to be more present. I think also like right now I can hear the rain, I can feel a bit of a breeze. It kind of like I think for me also gives me some like sensory experiences that feel more positive versus nausea or other things which can feel negative, or like I said, the bright light. Of course, I'm on video, so we do have light going on. Like I said, I had this planned on my schedule to record today, and I wasn't sure what I was going to talk about, so I thought I'd be very in the moment, but I kind of wanted to do a spread. We'll probably keep it short. And like I said, I am making it up on the spot for like doing tarot on a sick day, or like a no spoons day or low spoons. And spoon theory, if you've never heard of that, is a thing that's often talked about in disability or chronic illness or pain communities, which is that sort of the idea that you have a certain amount of spoons, which are like your energy levels. and that those might change day to day, and that certain activities require a certain amount of spoons. And so if you only, if you wake up and you only have 6 spoons available and showering takes 3 of them, right, that might be a day that you choose like, no, it's not worth it today, right? I need to like do other things like work or drive or other things that I know for me take spoons. And so there's sort of this idea that like even if people have different energy levels or if your energy levels change day to day, that it like helps to be a way to talk like across experiences about kind of the same phenomenon, which is that like you may only have a certain amount of energy available to you. And while we can have all the plans, like I said, right, you can have a calendar full of things to do, but that doesn't mean that your chronic illness or pain or even sickness, right, if you don't experience kind of chronic illness, are gonna care about what your plans were. So I thought that'd be interesting to kind of just get into today. So I think I'm going to create a 3 card spread. And like I said, I guess I will sort of give you the prompts as I make them up. I'm going to take a sip of my tea now. My ginger here. It's nice. And all right, let's get into it. So I'm going to do like, what do I need to hear today? What do I need to keep in mind? And what should my third one be? What do I need to hear? What do I need to keep in mind or like focus on? And I'm going to say, what do I leave behind or like not do today? So that's going to be my simple spread that I just came up with. I'm going to be using the Seasons of the Witch, Samhain Oracle here. This is by Lorraine Anderson, Juliet Diaz, and illustrated by Gianna Rose. I'll try to show the cards as I pull them. I had a full moon circle on January 3rd with my friend and colleague Izzy, and someone else used this deck because I saw the cards on top, which I always leave the cards that I pull kind of face up and when I put the deck away as a little reminder and just kind of sweetly reminded me of like, oh yeah, I got to share my decks with some other folks over the weekend. And I really enjoy that. I think it's fun to get to share decks. I know some people don't necessarily want other people's energy on their cards, but for me, sometimes I'll just sort of like energetically cleanse them when I get back, but I would say I'm less strict about that now than I've been before. I don't really care about other people's rules, I guess is where I'm gonna. So, okay, so if you want to pull with me, grab your deck. I like to shuffle and then split my deck, and I'm gonna go ahead and pull my 3 cards right now, face up, and see. Okay, interesting. Okay, so the first card I pulled is called Haunted. And I feel like that's kind of how I feel right now. Not necessarily haunted, but just kind of like she looks kind of out of it and she kind of looks like she's not like totally present, right? If we think of like being haunted or something, it's like you're seeing things or hearing things perhaps, or being reminded of things that maybe other people aren't experiencing or hearing. So it says here, the breaking of the floor beneath your naked feet, the creaking of the walls as the cold kisses flesh. You're never really alone when in the company of hauntings within bone. And again, I'll show the card here. And this again is the Seasons of the Witch, Samhain Oracle. So technically this is not a tarot deck, this is Oracle. Okay, so my prompt that I just made up was, what do I need to hear today? So I'm gonna go ahead and pull out the book here and see. And I did pull all my cards upright. This deck does have reversal definitions, so If you feel comfortable reading reversals, do you have a deck that has that in the tarot deck guidebook? Feel free. If you don't, you can always read things upright and then try to either interpret or kind of feel into what a reversal might mean for that. So like I said, this is haunted. The keywords are atonement and company. It says the definition of a poltergeist is an unknown spirit that causes disturbances such as loud noise or moving furniture. In fact, the word poltergeist is German and means noisy spirit. Originally, poltergeists were thought to be demons who played tricks, focusing their attention on one specific person. However, theories surrounding the origins of poltergeist disturbances have changed. Many believe poltergeist to be a manifestation of an individual's troubled psyche, as disturbances generally focus on one person. Okay. Says this person is usually in some kind of pain or trauma, either from things done to them or things they've done to others. The poltergeist becomes a physical representation of the pain that has been locked away and left to fester. Eventually, the pain becomes too much for the person to hold, and the poltergeist is born, bringing with it a terrifying display of what was hidden. It says, you have pulled the haunted card because there is something you must atone for. You locked something away, choosing to ignore it rather than own up to your mistake. This can be something you have done to someone else, but also something you feel you've done to yourself. Perhaps a choice you'd like to forget, or even a trauma that you never dealt with. Whatever your situation, know that hauntings will continue until you are ready to face the monster your pain has created. This is especially true if you pull another card, which is the Greet the Darkness card, which I did not pull. So this is very interesting, right? This is saying that like maybe the message or what you need to hear today is that there's something that you're ignoring or repressing or that has sort of manifested in yourself or your psyche or your body, and it's perhaps coming out right physically in a sense of pain, which is pretty interesting, right? I think I never want to, I guess, with my own understanding of my chronic pain and over time, like I do think that that is sometimes true, or perhaps when I look at it now with a bit of distance, I can tell that sometimes like that means I pushed myself too hard, or I was perhaps not sharing something that felt important to me, or, and that sometimes when we do that and that feeling of repression or not dealing with something may manifest in something like holding the trauma or the thing in the body. And I never want to tell people that like, oh, if you experience pain, that just means you have like a bunch of trauma to deal with and like you should get on that because then you won't have any pain anymore. That's not very helpful. And I would say, right, that sometimes, right, perhaps the message that we need to hear today is like, think about what's been going on the last couple of days, or like think about where, again, maybe you push yourself too hard, or there was something that you felt needed to be said and perhaps you were holding it in, or something that's come along recently that maybe you haven't felt ready to share yet or ready to do, but this card's saying like, nah, if you're having pain, or if you're feeling sick right now, or if things are coming up, perhaps that is because there's something there that needs to be kind of dealt with. There's not one thing that comes to mind for me, like in particular with my current like situation with this card, but I do know that kind of like often overarching, and sometimes it takes like a while to like to get distant, at least for me, like often days after I've had a migraine or like later, I have better like hindsight on perhaps part of the amalgamation of things that came together to create my body going into a response of kind of extreme sensory and kind of shutting down in a way of pain and like doing a migraine, because it's very hard if you have a migraine to do much of anything if you're in like a full-blown migraine. It really kind of, at least again for me, forces me to like turn off all the lights, lay down, not do a lot. Often can't look at a screen, can't look at anything, maybe listen to something or just like sleep. And so again, perhaps for me, it's like, oh, you haven't been sleeping enough, or there's kind of been, there's one thing where I'm like, oh, I know I want to kind of change my schedule up as I go into this 2026 year. And I haven't totally done that yet, but I know I want to. And that is like the one thing that I'm like, maybe this is like a good like sign, or the message today is like, no, you just gotta do it. You just gotta rip off the Band-Aid, right? And then go into that situation, and just make it happen. And then kind of, right, what am I trying to say? The brain fog is real. But like try to go into, instead of saying like, oh, I'm gonna, tell everyone this, and then in another month I'm gonna start preparing my schedule this way, and then in another month I'll have transitioned into the new schedule, right? Maybe that is what I've created in my brain as the ideal way to change your schedule. And I feel like the message I'm getting right now is like, just do it. Just like cancel the things you need to cancel that are coming up, which sometimes that is like what my migraine tells me to do in general, is like, you can't keep pushing through. Like, you're just gonna have to cancel some of the things that you wanted to do, and not, and while that may inconvenience yourself and others, like that is still, like, perhaps there are things more important than that. So that's going to be kind of like what's top of mind for me, is like, okay, maybe this ideal way that I thought I could do this in this like long transitionary period, maybe that is like not the most helpful thing. And maybe I just need to tell the people I need to tell, cancel the things I need to cancel this week, and then next week I get to start my new schedule, right? Like, even though um, that may not be what society tells us is like the nicest, most professional way to do things. Yeah, I'm gonna stop there for now because I feel like that was a lot. Okay, so let's go on to the next card. This is funny. So this is, what do I need to keep in mind or focus on? And the card that I pulled was Mischief, which I don't think I've ever pulled this one before. And I'm like, I love the imagery here. It's like of people climbing like all over a building, multiple people. Someone's like laying over, someone's like inside, someone's crawling up the side. It says, keep your eyelids open and sight sharp as nails, for there is something trailing behind your tail. I like these, like, I don't know, rhyming stanzas that they have in this deck. Okay, so Mischief. Okay, and it says the words associated with it are clever and naughty. Okay, interesting. I'm going to go back to my prompts and look at them. So what do I need to keep in mind and focus on? Okay, so Samhain isn't just about dark energy, loved ones who have passed, and things that go bump in the night. There's a fun, playful aspect to Samhain as well, a bit of naughtiness and a touch of cunning. There's an element of mischief to the night of Samhain. Trick-or-treating isn't just about the candy. The trick comes from an ancient Samhain tradition where villagers would disguise themselves in animal skins to scare away the demons, ghouls, and goblins that were free to roam the earth for one night every year, often playing cruel tricks on humans. We humans are clever, though, and have found a way to keep the goblins at bay. Says, not all tricks are fun, however, at least not to all involved. Tricks and mischief can be mean-spirited and cruel at times. One must keep a lookout for those who find fun at the expense of others. Pulling mischief can mean a need to adopt a smarter approach to your situation. You may need to get creative to get what you want. You may even have to play a trick or two to get the outcome you desire. Be open-minded about how to overcome your challenges, and if possible, approach your situation with a bit of fun. Problems are serious, but that doesn't mean a bit of silliness can't help you see it in a new way. I do feel like this card makes sense to me because I feel like that's what I chose to do with this episode. Earlier today, I was like, oh, I don't feel like super great. I know I'm supposed to do the podcast later. I don't want to do that. I just want to lay down, that kind of thing. And then I kind of did lay down for a little bit when I had time. And then I was like, oh, what am I going to talk about? I hadn't planned it out yet. And so I kind of was like, oh, let's like be a bit cheeky, right? And like make an episode about how I'm feeling right now. Make an episode about when you're not feeling super great and the fact that you can still use tarot in that time if you want. No pressure. But of course, I'm always intrigued about, yeah, what are different ways that I can use tarot and how can I use tarot in a supportive way, even again when like I don't have all my energy and wits about me. So I do feel like this is saying, right, like be creative about things, right? Like use the energy you do have for things that are maybe fun and feel worth it. And then, right, like don't do the things you don't need to do. Like you can keep it to the bare minimum. Um, but also try to like, yeah, have some fun and silliness with the things that you can. Because that is also a way for us to kind of like revive our energy sometimes, or to just like enjoy the things that we have to do more. Right? I know like maybe it's not necessarily silliness, but like doing some art, drawing or coloring, as you know I love to do, or getting, like I saw someone talk about recently, Chloe Laverson on Instagram, talk about like having gel pens and like just having a pretty journal that you like write your to-do list in, and having gel pens like from my youth. So I went to the store to get some other supplies earlier this week to get a sketchbook because I have finished my old one and I was like, ooh, they have gel pens. So I have a purple gel pen already, but I got a gold one and a blue one so that I can have a little more whimsy in my to-do list or in my planner or other things that I like to do. Just kind of like fostering that like things that we did as kids or our inner child aspect to try to like keep things fun and interesting. I have in front of me something else that I did over the weekend, which was create a mini vision board on an index card. And this was one of the things that Izzy and I led as part of our New Year full moon healing circle. And I just had some collage and some stickers and some coloring pencils and stuff. But this is my little cute little vision board that I made for right now. And that was a very fun activity. And we did it in 15 minutes because if you have a tiny vision board, you just can't fit a lot on it. And so it kept it contained, which was nice. And I have it sitting in front of me in my like tarot card like holder in front of me. Okay, so last card is what do I leave behind or not do today? And it's funny because I've been playing this card a lot, the altar card. I feel like today it's saying like, no, don't do the ritual, don't do the big thing. Like you don't need to do all that. um, so it says on here, a sacred devotion of worship, skin deep, rising from the ash, the waters you keep. So I will read the card to see if there's any other insight I can glean, but that is kind of my initial um, assumption as I look at it. It says your altar is a sacred space created to honor something in your practice, a space dedicated to worship and the devotion of your craft. It should not hold things that are not sacred to your energy work. It should be a place in your home where spirits of the wise gather and share their knowledge with you. Each altar you create is a beautiful expression of who you are. It's where you hold your connection to something in spirit that resonates with your inner self. Some things naturally belong on an altar, such as ritual candles, crystals, herbs, an athame, or a chalice. Personal items are welcome too. There is no right or wrong item to put on your altar as long as it holds special meaning for you. If you have pulled the altar, it's because your guides are thrilled to see you making an effort. There needs to be an intention, a worshiping and space so that you can harness your energy without disruption. Either a physical space such as an altar or a metaphorical space like opening your heart. It is even better to have both, where you can come back to your true self. Know that you have a power deep within you that needs a place to land. Your guides need a space to speak to you. They can reach you anywhere on the planet, and you can call on them at any time. Worshipping at your altar gives them an open invitation. They know they are welcome and that you are ready to receive their gifts and messages in your sacred space. So, right, that is about the card. It's a place to go. It's like a space, again, physical or metaphorical, that you create as a way to kind of communicate or honor ancestors or guides. But I do feel like with the prompt that I created of what do I leave behind or not do today, it's like, don't do all that, right? Like I have my little altar behind me. I did light a candle and I have some lavender, dried lavender smoke cleansing stick that I was burning. I got my tea here. So I have my little things, right? I have my tools. I have my altar. Apologies for the email noises. But you kind of like, I feel like it's saying today, you don't need to do all that. And that right now, like I said, focusing on the spread, kind of getting messages about what to do when you're on a low energy or a sick day. And that's kind of like where we leave it today. So I feel like for me, it's saying like, yeah, you can have the altar, but like you don't need to like have a whole ritual today. And that's okay. You can do that another day. You can do that. And I did do some for New Year's and for solstice, which were recently. So that feels resonant for me. Um, yeah, so let's go ahead. I know I just pulled cards, but dive in and see. Yeah, what is the message from the cards about if there's anything else we need to know today, or maybe even a message from our pain, our sickness, if there's anything it wants to share with us. Um, this is a practice I do sometimes. I don't know if I've necessarily done it with tarot, but kind of after I have a pain day or different things, it's kind of like I said, kind of looking back and thinking about like, do I feel like there were any particular things that caused a flare up of pain, or that like some of it is to like learn if there's something I can maybe do differently in the future or plan for. But sometimes it's just like, oh, is there a message about I needed to slow down today, right? Or I needed to really tune into my body and nourish it with teas and other things that help me instead of just kind of like trying to exist and not nourish ourselves. Okay, so I'm gonna say, yeah, any messages from migraine or sickness today? Okay, interesting. So I pull in from my numerology oracle by Rosemary Templeton. I did pull a card in reverse, but I don't think this deck does reversals, so we're probably going to read it upright and then I'll try to think about it. So I pulled the 5, which is expansion, and it says, yeah, 5 expansion on it. Drawing this card indicates that it is time for you to be versatile, generous, and to expand your thinking. Also, do your best to honor a promise you might have made and forgotten. This is also a card of change within your associations or close relationships. You need some freedom mentally and physically to progress. Be mindful of your words when explaining to someone about needing some freedom, a bit of time to yourself. Perhaps there are a few issues you'd like to consider that need clear thinking. All life progresses through change and new ideas. By letting go of the old, the new can be realized. If you enjoy working within the public arena, this could be your opportunity to take the step forward. You do not necessarily have to be a rolling stone gathering no moss, but do not be a procrastinator either. It says this number vibrates to pink, expressing power, life, and love. It says wear pink in various shades, either in a garment or a scarf, tie, or a pocket handkerchief when you need some help during this time. So that's kind of interesting. It was actually kind of making me think about that like nourishing statement that I was saying. Of like, right, this card's about being expansive or thinking about what are your needs, right? Perhaps your needs are to have more alone time or to have some, like they're talking about freedom here, time for yourself, time for your own dreams or projects or friendships or different things like that. And then again, sometimes being sick or feeling down or having low energy or having more pain, right, in a lot of ways often does make us focus more on ourselves and on nourishing. Again, sometimes it feels or I'd say often, it feels like it could be, I, right, I think it's common and it can feel natural to get upset or to be frustrated or to be annoyed or that your plans are being disrupted, right? Or that like no one likes being in pain, or at least not generally, especially when it's not consensual, and that it's sort of like, okay, yeah, I don't really know why this is happening today, but let me try to take it in stride and kind of like adapt or right, expand my ideas about, for me again, like what the podcast can look like, what I talk about on it. I did like a ton of episodes. I don't think maybe I've talked about having migraine before, but I don't really know. Even though I talked for like 260 episodes, that, right, maybe this is an arena to share a bit more of myself and my process, which I did at times throughout the podcast, but a lot of it was focused on the research I did or other people's work or other people's spreads or research that I was, pulling together from different sources and then trying to bring a cohesive theme. But I feel like this card is saying, right, like, by letting go of the old, the new can be realized, that maybe there's a new outlook or a new thing coming in. And sometimes we have to, right, like let go of the things that we have been doing to try to change something to transition into a newer, to make space for something new to come in. And I do think about that when I was talking about my schedule with the other card, that I'm trying to carve out another day a week that I can spend not necessarily seeing therapy clients, but having time to work on work projects or do more stuff for the podcast or for my kind of witchy business that is starting to grow and build and starting to create offers, and that as I think about it, and that's the thing I want to create in my schedule. And I feel like again this card's saying like just do it. Like transitions are never easy, and it can be that sort of very like, it just feels hard to think about and hard to plan for, and then when you're in it you just kind of have to do it. So I feel like that's kind of what this card is saying, that like we're allowing for that expansion, we're allowing for new things to come in, and that we have to actually, right, change some of the old things in order for that to happen. And today, so I'm recording this on Tuesday, January 6th, and as you may have listened to in my color magic season that I did fairly recently, season 19, I believe. I talked about Tuesdays are Mars Day, and I generally wear, so Mars associated for the planet with the color red, and orange and pink, because there's no other days necessarily that are affiliated with orange and pink. So today I'm wearing more of the orange version, but that just seemed interesting to me that this card is about pink, the color associated with it. And I'm like, oh yeah, today is like the pink day of the week. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm coming from. So just to kind of wrap this up, thanks for joining me today. To reiterate what to expect in 2026, I'm having weekly episodes. They're going to be published on Monday mornings. I'm going to continue to have guests, hopefully publishing a guest a month, or at least that's kind of my intention. We are doing video episodes going forward. They are going out on Spotify and YouTube, so you can follow my YouTube channel, Camille A. Saunders, or youtube.com/ or at Camille A. Saunders, I think. Maybe it's slash at, but it'll be linked in the show notes. So you can check it out. If you're listening to this on audio, that's great. But if you want the video version, you can check that out on Spotify or on the YouTube channel to do that. And if you like YouTube, you can subscribe to get notifications every time new episodes drop. Like I said, they're will be on Monday mornings. I'll link the tarot decks I talk about. So if you know someone who would like to be a guest on the podcast, you can fill out my form to be a guest in the show notes. You have the links for the decks will always be in the show notes and on my website if you want to look at them or purchase them. And thanks for joining me today on Everyday Tarot. You can tune in every Monday morning to check out the latest episode. And you can always email me at CamilleASaunders.com with your thoughts, questions, and more. All right. See you soon. Bye-bye.